Congratulations. You have all crossed the bridge into a new world. We are embarking on a journey together, a journey into brightness and a journey into success. I reflect back just 5 long years ago in Silicon Valley when I was in a meeting with some of the world's leading economic and financial analysts who said at that time, 2019, the world is great. Nothing is going to stop growth. Business as usual, industrialization, growth in economics, growth in technology. We've got another 1 to 2 years of significant acceleration. And then within 2 to 3 months, the paradigm shifted. COVID-19 disrupted the concept of business as usual. Organizations globally had to rethink business processes. Digitalization happened more quickly in 3 weeks than in the past 3 years combined. The concept of work and supply chains and the way we interact with the planet was completely disrupted between 2020 and today. And during that period, people changed. It was an opportunity to take a step back and to think about what's really important to me. What do I need in order to sustain myself, my family, and the planet on which we're living? Where can I best utilize my skills to achieve my purpose? And how can I best use technology in order to advance myself, my company, and my career? And as we globally, people and businesses, shifted to a digital and ultimately a hybrid model, we contributed significantly to the data lakes and to the learning and the knowledge, and also to the increasing investments in technological development. So it wasn't a coincidence that in November of 2023, only a few years back, the concept of AI suddenly became prominent to everyone. And AI, which had been something under development for many years and utilized in Silicon Valley, was top of mind in everything from content creation to replacement of jobs to changing the world. Some may say for the better, because it's really good at researching and solving big problems like climate change, global health care, agricultural issues. Or some can say it's the end of the world because between AI and robotics and virtual reality, it's going to take us over. Now, there's arguments on both sides of those equations. I personally believe that AI and any technology really is simply a tool. Will it lead to a positive, brave, beautiful new world ahead? I believe it can. Could it lead to destruction in certain areas? It certainly could. That is up to us as people. We are the users, we are the guiders, and we are the educators for the tools. But we have to recognize that AI and any other technology is simply a tool, an inanimate tool, just like a kitchen knife. A kitchen knife is used for positive intent to make lovely dinners, to speed the way we do things, to enhance our lives as we have fabulous chefs that use various knives to create wonderful meals. But that same tool could be used to create destruction, to stab, to hurt, to manipulate. It all depends upon the intent of the person and the way we utilize the tool. And in this world of rapid change, often powered by AI and accelerated through the capabilities of technology, it is up to us as people, the change champions, to choose which tools we use and how we use them. And that's a powerful opportunity because in technology, our use of those tools is a part of co-creating them. And over the next 1, 5 years, even months maybe, we're going to see the pace of change. And that change will be driven by geopolitical situations, climate change that we already see accelerating dramatically, societal changes as new generations come into the workforce with completely different ideas about purpose and what is work and where it fits in their lives. And we're going to see accelerating change in development of technology that will embody AI in things such as robotics, humanoid robotics that can do tasks such as assembling, creating, building, possibly prepping and cleaning up from our meals using the tools such as knives. Can also lead to autonomy. In San Francisco, self-driving cars, Waymo, Cruise, are commonly utilized very efficiently to get from point A to point B, much more safely than a taxi or an Uber. And they're beginning to be powered more and more by a completely new technology platform, quantum computing, based not on I's and O's and semiconductors per se, but built based upon physics that can allow for technology development and deployment 100,000 times faster than what we have today. Change is only going to increase, but it can make our lives a lot better. Think of, for example, the digital twins already in place in many areas that allow people to remain in safe, secure urban environments instead of having to go out undersea to do research and development or to fix things in oil platforms. Improving lives. Blockchain, under development for many years, is now coming to the forefront with new cryptocurrencies and cryptography working together to create a Web3 environment that will allow for people around the globe to connect with one another safely and securely, completely new security systems, and be able to contract securely and transact and actually conduct financial transactions and agreements across a technology platform in a highly secure, safe way, avoiding the scammers and the hackers that we see increasing today. And yes, there will be a part of this that is done in a virtual reality, more than gaming, but actually allowing people to interact with each other, allowing products to be developed, solutions to be provided, circularity to become real on a global basis, all through augmented intelligence, combining AI, other technologies, and human intuition to create a better world. And as we add things like facial voice recognition, that become personalized. So we have immediate access to what we need when we need it in a much more efficient way in the upcoming future. I believe this is within 1 to 5 years, not science fiction. We're already again seeing this today. I do realize, though, for some, this can be a little bit scary, maybe overwhelming, and you do have options. You don't have to jump in 100,000% to all of this and become an AI expert or spend days and years learning virtual reality. You do have options. However, hiding away and just waiting for it to all go away, that is not an option because the paradigm has shifted. We are in a new world, a different world that is growing and changing quickly. The options available are, first and foremost, stay put as long as you can. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm not going to change very much. I'm going to keep going, possibly ride it out till I can retire in another 1 to 2 years. Good luck. I don't know that it's 1 to 2 years before you could be disrupted. It's not that AI is going to take your job. It is that someone who is skilled in utilizing AI to be more effective may take your job in a matter of weeks or months, as opposed to years. The other alternative, which I recommend, is to be a part of the change. As people in Silicon Valley say, lean into it, jump in, learn, try things. There is no one expert in a world of change today, but by working together and exploring what could be possible and having learning labs where you share ideas regularly can be a way of smoothly coming into this new world and impacting it as well as impacting yourself and each other. Now, this all reminds me back about 12 years ago. I was in Silicon Valley, and it was a period of a lot of global turmoil. We were just coming out of the Great Recession around the world. Stock markets were down, customers were concerned. There was a lot of shifting in mindsets. And this was, believe it or not, before things like iPhones and mobile phones were that big and important around us. And our client, Adobe, which had always been known for being the predictable, the favorite of the stock market in Silicon Valley, because every year they would deliver perfectly great, improved earning results, quality product, same market, always on an uptick. But they had appointed a new CEO, Shantanu Naran, who had been leading the product development team. And Shantanu came in with some new ideas and new perspectives on where he wanted to take the company. But timing wasn't really good because as the markets declined, customers said, we've been buying your product year after year, new updates, new agreements, 1,000 to 3,000 euros per year. We just simply can't afford it. This is not going to work any longer. However, the board and the stock market was adamant to Shantanu. You've got to come up with a different way to get the customers to do this. You've got to get people to change their mindset. Discount, rebate, hire new salespeople, do something, do more. But what Shantanu did was to take a step back. I went for a walk and really thought deeply about the purpose of Adobe and reflected back to Chuck and John, his mentors, who had been the founders of Adobe and passed the keys to him 2 years before this. And he realized their mission, our purpose, why we're here, is to enable creativity for people around the world, delivering digital experiences wherever they are. Our purpose is not necessarily to sell software for a lot of money in order to make the stock market and investors happy. Something is missing here. And so we thought a lot about what are ways that we could deliver on our purpose that fits with what the market and customers are asking for. An easy, cost-effective, value-driven way to access digital capabilities. And he had the idea, a creative cloud. What if we took all of our software and put it in the cloud and made it available to people anywhere for small amounts of money? They pay as you go. You pay for what you use. We could be a change champion, shifting the mindset from buying things to an experience, having a digital experience and paying value based on the experience. Now, when he went back to his leadership team after having this aha moment and said, in 5 years, we are no longer going to be a software company. We're going to be a digital experience service company. We're going to completely disrupt the industry and we're going to change our business model. They all, of course, looked at him and said, yeah, right. How do you expect us to do this? We're set up in this way. We've got salespeople, we've got compensation, we've got customers, we've got partners, we've got all of this stuff. And Shantanu's answer was, in this world of change, I don't have the step-by-step guide. It doesn't exist. But what we're going to do is we're going to co-create the answer to your question, how to get from point A, where we are today, to point B, our North Star, to be a services company in 5 years. We're going to figure it out together. And we're going to do that by starting with our purpose. Let's always keep in mind, our goal is to deliver creativity to people wherever they are, when they want it, how they want it. And we'll do that through services. And we'll explore what are the features that our customers may be most interested in paying for. What are they willing to pay for them? For how long? How will they use them? We'll brainstorm. We'll have hackathons. We'll invite customers into the dialogue. But we won't take years in doing this. We'll do this in very small segments. We'll take this a piece at a time and explore with our customers, with our teams, and with our partners. When we have something that sounds reasonable and rational, we'll take action and we'll do it in a small segment. We won't reinvent everything overnight. We'll do one capability at a time. We'll try it. And once we've tried it, we'll come back together and we'll collaborate around how did it work. If it worked well, we'll do a little bit more. If it worked sort of okay, we'll modify and we'll double down in a new way. If it failed miserably, great. That's a positive. We can check that off as something we don't want to do. Now let's go do something different. And we're going to empower everyone in the organization to talk to each other, talk to customers, talk to partners, explore, try things, but collaborate together, because no one of us has exactly the right answer. It was an honor and a pleasure to lead them through this process and see the iterations. It wasn't easy over those 5 years, but it paid off. The stock price, which is what is on the left-hand side of this chart, of Adobe was at an all-time low of $20 per share in 2010. But once this change began to move forward, once customers saw the advantages, that began to change. And within those 5 years, not only did Adobe recover revenues, but they gained significantly higher loyalty of customers and employees and partners because people felt as though they were part of the change. Look at what we built. Look at how we got to this level. Look at what we have achieved and how we can take this forward. So change is not easy. No one said it was, but it is essential. There is no longer time to wait and see what's going to happen because the world is moving quickly and it's going to get even quicker in shifting at a quantum 100,000 times faster. However, I can imagine some of you may be saying, I'm all in, I'm the change champion, but how can I get others to think differently and to get out from under the cover and lean into new ways of doing business and new ways of thinking? Firstly, it's extremely important to remember that people do not like being changed. If someone is locked down and says, I'm going to stay here, you're not going to move me, it's really hard. To get them out of that mode, you have to encourage them to begin to be open to what the advantages are of changing. Because ultimately, people do like to change when it is up to them, when it is their choice, when they see the positives of it. So helping people to see why change and how this can be positive for your world is very important. And one aspect of this can be leaning in a bit more to technology. And to do that, we need to really think about the human psyche, which starts from our human brain. Our brain, which is filled with all kinds of different segments and neurons and intuition, etc., is complex and it is unique. I personally don't believe our human brain will be replicated through technology in the foreseeable future. Within this brain, there are a lot of different segments that impact the way we react to things and the way we operate in our daily lives. The biggest part of the brain from a size point of view is the prefrontal vortex. This is the part of our brain that is open to new ideas. It's creative, it's inquisitive, it's curious, it's innovative. It is the part that is often front and center with our children. If you have children or have been around children, you might observe that they're constantly asking, why? Why is it that way? What if? Why can't we do X? Let's explore, let's experiment. They live outside the box because they're living in that prefrontal vortex that allows us to think big. But as we get into life and school and work and obligations and society and families, we start using more of that other side of our brain that is designed and is structured to give us organization, rules, guidelines, requirements, things you must do, tasks. In a recent study of how humans use their brain, people in the workforce from age 25 on up spend most of their time of a day at work and even at home using that substantive nigra part of their brain in the rule structure. 80%. Young people, those children, 80% of where their brain is utilized is in the prefrontal vortex, which is much larger. Interesting to recognize that technology, AI, robotics, digital twins, that's built based upon rules, structures, tasks, commands. That's what can replace a lot of what we do in that substantive nigra side of our brain. So what if we started thinking about technology as a way to simply do those what ifs and structures and rules and tracking and analyzing and details and blah, 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 allowing us as people and our teams to spend more time talking with customers, talking with partners, working with colleagues, innovating, brainstorming new solutions, asking, what if we leveraged blockchain? What might it be like if we built a partnership in another part of the world and exchanged ideas over a Web3 kind of concept? Another of my clients, Vanamida, been a finance and insurance company in Europe, had that idea as well. Their CEO recognized early on that technology is not a threat, but it's a tool. It's a tool that can really help us as a company drive growth and to allow our people to do what people do best. They had a team of 100 customer service people that did nothing but review, analyze, summarize, check, respond back to customer applications, claims processing, inquiries, and issues. One of their biggest challenges 2 years ago was recruiting to begin with, then retaining and managing these customer service people. So it was a pretty boring job for most of them. They said, let's find a tool that can do this. And they did. They implemented a purpose-built AI-based tool that could process all of those documents, applications, claims, etc., in seconds instead of minutes, freeing 80 to 90 of those people from the chains that bound them. And they talked to the 80 to 90 people, deep, in-depth conversations. What do you really want to do? What do you believe is your purpose? Where would you like to take your career and your life? And some of them said, I love working with customers. I would like to be able to be an account manager and deepen the relationships with our strategic accounts. I'm sure I could bring in more business. They were freed to do that, and they have brought in a lot more business. Others said, I want to be an analyst. I want to understand from the data how we can shift pricing, how we can create new products, how we can operate in whole new ways. Much more effective use of that human prefrontal vortex based upon the data and the work that the technology was providing. Ultimately, it led to happier people across the entire organization and significantly improved results for the bottom line. So the choice is yours. And for some of your people, they may be choosing to hold on as long as possible. I would strongly encourage, begin to think about where can technology, new ways of operating, new roles, new customers, where can that add new value to you, helping you achieve your purpose and to be a part of the change, exploring, shifting, changing. We are in a unique one-time point in history when the world is already changing rapidly, accelerating over the next years. Be a part of that change. There isn't one right answer. There isn't one expert. We're in this together to co-create success, starting with understanding for each of us, what is my purpose? What do I really want to achieve in my time on this planet? And what is the mission or purpose of the company? Ideally, I can look for and identify with my manager ways that those two things can align and to explore what are the possibilities out there. I would encourage each of you after this session to have a working session with your team, just putting out on the table what tools are you using? What new ways are you operating? What are you hearing differently from customers today than you heard 6 months or a year ago? Build that database of what's happening in the world and think about what actions you as a person, your team, and the organization can take to most effectively achieve that purpose in light of what customers are looking for. It's all about collaboration. Many of my clients have regular, whether it's monthly or bi-weekly, learning labs where they bring people together to each share a new bit of technology or a new bit of research or a new area that they've explored. They share actively and they challenge each other. That's being that change champion, encouraging people and giving a safe place for them to link in, for them to come together and collaborate and to empower. Change is a process. No one has the answer. It's not about a rule book. Move out of that structured guidelines and begin to get back to the human aspect of what's possible. After and as you leave this session, as the change champion, which I crown each of you as a result of our work together here, encourage you to find some time to reflect on your own purpose. As Shantanu did, take a step back, get out of the wild world of change, get away from the messages, and think about what am I really trying to achieve? And what is FAB's ultimate mission? And how can we align on those two things? Take that walk and think and reflect. And after you've reflected, explore. Try something new, a new tool, a new approach, a new customer, a new partner, and most importantly, share. I've thrown a lot at you here today, and so I would encourage you to look at the people that are on the call here and reach out to one another and set up little learning buddies, people that can be your co-collaborator as you are that change champion, your support system and your accountability partner in moving forward. If I can be of further assistance, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. We are definitely on a journey. I have a lot of experience in change and working with companies globally around shifting mindset, doing things differently. I can here to support, and I look forward to hearing your questions as I stop sharing the screen, I believe, and come back into the session.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for the amazing session. Well,
Thank you.
the model itself is like sounds amazing tool to take off, lead with peace, which is purpose, exploration, action, collaboration, and empowerment. So we'll open the floor for any question from the participants in case if you would like to ask any specific question to Jennifer, since we are having her on the call. And the Q&A section, you can find it on the top bar in the middle of the screen. If you can type in any question you might have, and we will be taking it off from there. To kick off, like maybe I would like to go ahead with a question from my side to you, if you don't. Um, if you can tell, how can I persuade to get another person to change?
Great question. The first part is to get to know the person. You've honestly got to build trust with a person in order to work with them and encourage and empower them to change. So spend time with the person, get to know them. I always encourage, especially leaders, to take some time and go out for a walk, go for a lunch, a casual, get to know the person, get to know what their motivators are. Begin to ask questions around what they really want to achieve in life, i.e., their purpose, so that when you have that knowledge, you begin to then, through questions, through comments, through examples, help them to see that by making some small changes, they may be in a better position to do what they want to do what they enjoy, and ultimately change. Change for us as people has got to come from inside. And it comes from inside, and we decide, yes, I'm willing to do something that's kind of uncomfortable, only when we see the advantage is much greater than staying where we are. So, as a leader, understanding the person and what might be that link that says, oh, yes, I really do want to do that. And so, in order to achieve that, I'm willing to take the steps needed.
Well, basically, yes, and exploring the needs or the motivation of the person. So following up with a question from a participants we have received, I guess is somehow relevant to the first question, is how do we deal with toxicity and negativity toward change?
Oh, yes, yes. Firstly, understand where it's coming from. And I do find in companies around the world, there is a increasing level of toxicity and honestly, an increasing level of mental health issues. And I believe, in theory, some of that comes from the fact that people who are afraid, and many people are afraid of what's happening in the world because there is a lot happening, whether it's geopolitically, whether it's climate, whether it's technology. When people become afraid, they kind of lock down. And when we lock down, maybe I've heard the old fight or flight. They either say, I'm out of here, I'm jumping to another company, this is all bad, my life is bad. They fly away and many times regret it. Or they lock down and they say, I'm gonna fight and they become negative. And when they become negative, that can create aggression. And if two negative people are in a battle with each other, that becomes toxic in and of itself, which creates this whole mental health negative spiral. Very bad situation. If you sense that that is potentially happening somewhere in the organization, the best thing you can do is build a relationship with one or each separately of the two people. Help pull them out of that situation because they're in a battle. Pull them out of the battle, pull them out of the war. Show them empathy. Try to understand what they are afraid of, what they think the negative impact of politics or climate or technology is going to be on them. Why are they locking down so hard? You've got to help them to understand that, and you as a leader to begin to get an understanding of that. Because once you understand that core problem, then you can deal with it. If the problem is they're terrified of technology because they just don't feel like they're very capable with it, and they failed when they took a coding class, if that's the issue, then encourage them to think about ways that they can succeed using their human skills without going deep in technology. There is another path. So understand the people. I mean, interestingly, in this world of increasing technology impact on all of us, human skills are becoming the most important answer for any leader. Empathy, listening, not talking to them and telling them that they shouldn't be toxic, that doesn't work. I can assure you of that. But building trust, showing that you care, showing that they can share with you, and asking questions, listening, and responding back where they're coming from can go a very long way in breaking down those situations. In every discussion I've had with leaders in the last 3 months, some aspect of that need to sometimes just step away from the fray, pull the person out of the battle, be human, has become front and center to people. So if you're seeing these issues, you're not alone, but it's all about the people.
All right, amazing. So, a question or a statement also from a participant stating that what gets measured is gets visibility. So, since she's mostly working on regulatory and mandatory items, which is not an enterprise change item, how or what, how to embed motivation for change and transformation initiative into scorecard?
Yes, long could be a very long answer, but the short version of that is firstly, number one, I agree with you that in a global basis today, it's still the KPIs, the financial metrics, etc. That back part of our brain that needed to keep doing more. The best answer to that is as a change champion, leaving this session and going out with the idea to say, I know what the reality is. We've got to hit the KPIs and the numbers. All good. But maybe there's at least one little area within the company, one area within my team where I can have influence. Maybe there's one area that we could experiment with doing something different. And maybe we set some incentives, a gift card for a local restaurant for people that think out of the box and come up with new ideas. Maybe we have those once a month learning labs and we give a prize to the person that has done something the most innovatively or creatively. Start small. In Silicon Valley, we say you can't boil the ocean, but you can boil 1 cup of tea. So find something that is innovative that could ultimately lead to a shift in mindset at leadership and start there. I mean, it reminds me back to Shantanu. I mean, this is a US corporation listed on the stock exchange with high expectations of numbers. When he went to the investors and said, sorry, we are not going to hit the revenue numbers. We're not going to hit the earning numbers. We're not going to sell software anymore in 5 years. We're going to do something different. And that was a pretty brave statement. And it took time for them to begin to see that in this one little division in education in Australia, he's doing it and it's working. Well, if it's working in education in Australia, let's try it in a couple of other countries. Let's try it in a couple of different markets. So a piece at a time. And I personally believe that in another 3 to 5 years, the KPIs and the structures that we have today are going to be looked at as outdated. You don't want to be outdated. You're the change champions. Begin to find those little things that can be done and incentivized in new ways that can be part of that future of FAB.
Great. All right. Thanks for your answer. And taking a question from basically it is, I mean, towards like we are moving now toward Gen AI and the technology and revolution that's happening on. So the question came in as a how we could convince the old generation which they use not to use the technology and interact with the technology and basically because they've been interacting with the human, so how we could convince them to use the technology and be the change, like toward the change.
Yes. Firstly, the Gen Zers coming into the workplace, I believe, are one of the best things that could happen right now because they are bringing that prefrontal vortex. They're bringing a whole new perspective on life and work and technology. What I have seen in many companies is great success by pairing some of those Gen Zers with the baby boomers, the more tenured, shall we say, leaders, pairing them together for mentoring, in that the Gen Zers don't really understand the context fully of what certainly an organization like FAB where they have been and what they've achieved. So they need knowledge from the baby boomers, especially before the boomers retire. But what you'll really find is that the more senior person is going to learn a lot from the Gen Zers. We've seen companies start this as mentoring to help the Gen Z, but within 6 months, they shift the mindset to say it's actually reverse mentoring. It's for the Gen Z to help the 58-year-old figure out how he or she can use technology and can think differently. And that's a huge win-win. Personally, I believe that organizations that really embrace, lean into the Gen Z, as opposed to trying to change them, the organizations that lean in and learn from them in new mindsets and ways of using technology, they are the ones that will be the huge winners in the future.
Oh, definitely, because everything is now we are talking about the technology and innovation and the use of like, sustainability towards moving on the initiatives, those initiatives.
Yes.
So maybe I will can take the final question and to ask you, what do you believe the future will be like for banking in the UAE in general?
Yeah, personally, I think that UAE and the overall Gulf region is in such a fabulous position for success. I'm 100% a champion because you have bright, intelligent people. Everything I've seen is you're very committed and open to bringing people with new mindsets. You're very inclusive and embracing of new ideas, new technology, and new people. And in the Gulf region overall, there isn't a large legacy of having to change the way things have been done for the last 5,000 years, as there is where I am currently in Northern Europe. So there's huge opportunities. In finance, overall, the financial market segment is so ready for massive shifts in mindset. We've seen little glimpses with some of the fintech stuff, some of the cryptocurrency, but I believe we're just at the brink of really driving change there. So the technology is there. My experience of the region is the mindset is there, the education is there. You have the money, you have the resources, and you realize that time is running out. This is the time to lean in. And so I was delighted to be invited for this session on how to be the change champions, because I believe each of you as leaders in FAB and the bank itself can be that change champion that can shift the whole industry. Look at Adobe. What they did was the beginning of a complete shift to software as a service. Microsoft, Autodesk, Schneider Electric, all these companies following their behind. FAB, I believe, can be one of the leaders into redefining how our banking services delivered to people around the world. So I would love to stay in touch and hear how things evolve and support you in any way I can.
Jennifer, much appreciate the time throughout the session. It was indeed an amazing thought to share with everyone who have joined the call. So, since there is no final question, and I think this is all of it similar subject related, which we already answered and covered through you. So, as we close today's session, I want to leave you with this thought that change champions are not just the leaders of transformation, they are the catalysts that inspire, empower, and guide others through the journey. Whether you are leading a team, influencing, or driving new initiatives, your role as a change champion is critical to creating a lasting impact. And as being shared by Jennifer through the session, the amazing model about lead with peace, just keep it in mind and remember peace is state for purpose, exploration, action, collaboration, and empowerment. Take it into your action as you are, leading your team and working in any new projects and initiatives to work toward this for having the empowerment to expand and be the change champion. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for the amazing
Thank you.
session, and definitely we'll be looking forward for 2025 with a new and amazing Future Talk series. And thank you for everyone who have joined the session today, and wishing you a blessed day and afternoon in ahead.